So the name of this video is entitled Filing a PTSD Claim Part 1. Very fascinating event. So PTSD is an interesting claim. It's like a back problem. It isn't exact science. And it isn't an exact science of how messed up you could be on PTSD. Everybody's different, right? So I had a veteran service officer in Atlanta, and I was perplexed because I put in a claim for feet issues and hearing loss, and look, anyone that's been in the service knows, especially during the Vietnam era, your hearing test when you go in is a half an hour long. When you get out, it's 3 minutes. Oh, you're fine. Have a nice life. You survived. Be grateful. And I was, like I'm sure a lot of you guys are. However, filing a claim, whole nother nightmare. Similar to the bureaucracy in the Army or any branch of service. So I went to the veteran service officer and she said, look, I can't pay you for hearing, I can't pay you for feet. However, I am paying people for PTSD. I said, I don't have PTSD. She said, well, of course you do. You served in Vietnam. I said, I don't have any PTSD. And then she says, listen, you're not telling me you came back from Vietnam the same. I said, lady, look, I didn't get out of basic training the same. And look, in basic training, you're there for your 10 weeks and you can't hide from the drill sergeant. It's every day. I mean, it's 24 hours a day. And you deal with the terrorism. Okay, from your drill sergeant, it's supposed to be terrorism. However, in Vietnam, most anything bad that ever happened to me, and there were about 10 different things, they're over in 5 minutes. The worst thing lasted a few hours. So, the veteran service officer said, do not come back and see me to put in another disability claim until you've gone through the mental health department. And I said, okay. So I said, well, I did kind of jump out of bed when there was a loud noise ever since I got back from Vietnam, and I have reoccurring dreams. Same dream, I didn't have enough ammunition and stuff. And so I went online and I go, okay, what are the symptoms of PTSD? And I said, gee, I got about 20 of them. Maybe I can, they're not going to pay me for anything else. I'll get even and I'll put in a PTSD claim. And it's fascinating to me because 10 years prior, when I first enrolled in the VA healthcare system, this nurse said to me, I'm your advocate, you got to sign up for Agent Orange and you got to see this shrink about PTSD. So I went in this room and the shrink said, do you know why you're here? I said, yeah, I'm here to talk about PTSD. Well, the shrink said, do you have any symptoms of PTSD? I said, let me explain something to you, doc. The fact that I have reoccurring dreams and I'm hypervigilant is a symptom that, and my reward, that I survived Vietnam. The kids that lost their lives and gave their lives for our country, they don't have the privilege of having PTSD symptoms. So I said to him, I said, I think people invent PTSD so they can suck money out of the government. I'm not interested. Okay, 15 years later, I was told that a lot of Vietnam veterans, for example, were self-employed. And as life goes on, because they didn't quite interact with corporate America as much as somebody that went to Harvard, maybe we say, they started their own businesses, and that was me. I was always self-employed. So, what I learned by seeing the shrink was, my own private shrink, was that when you retire, you don't have the involvement with controlling employees or responsibilities, and you've got nothing to look forward to, and you think back. And I began to have symptoms of hallucinations, like people are on the other side of the room, long, get in the bunker, and hit a sporadic machine gun. And one time a satchel charge went off in my bedroom, and I always slept with an M16 beside my bed, which is probably a little bit unusual, but you like your weapon, and I miss it. So maybe I had PTSD, I said. So here's the trick. You go to a veteran service officer. I explained to you, you have to join the AMVETS or the VFW or Disabled Veterans or the Legion. You then find your veteran service officer. Then you get to go get involved in the you got to get into the mental health department, because if you got to get a claim for PTSD, you have to be diagnosed by the VA with PTSD. Now that is why this is in phase 1, because that can take a year or two. And it starts with you going to your primary care doctor.